Okay, this horse right here that we're going to do today, we're going to end up putting front shoes on him. So some people ask, why do you go through the effort of putting front shoes on, or why would you put front shoes on a horse? There's a couple different reasons. Well, I guess first let's talk about the reasons that you put shoes on a horse. I was told, and I think it kind of rings true, that the reason you got three reasons that you put shoes on a horse. It's either for protection, for traction, or for correction, or for therapeutic reasons. So anyway, the reason that you would put front shoes on a horse has come down to the reason of protection. And the reason being is because if you look at a horse, the big muscle groups are back here, and this limb, the hind limb, is the one that is connected to the whole skeleton through bone. The front limb is just connected with muscles. And so for traction, your hind limb is where all your power comes from, where all your traction comes from, where you would need traction because of the power. Anyway, so front shoes, you need front shoes on a horse. Because I've seen, there's a couple different percentages out there, but they say that horses that they carry 60% of their weight, because they got their head out there on a long lever arm. 60% of their weight on the front limbs, 40% on their hind limbs. I've seen a couple different percentages, but that's about. And then when we go and put a saddle on them and we ride them, they were more up towards the front feet. So the reason you might consider putting front shoes on your horse is if you got a horse, when you're riding, it tends to get sore on the front end. You might think about going ahead and putting front shoes on there. As a farrier, I don't know if this horse is getting sore on the front end or what it is. I was just asked by the customer to do it, and so that's why I do it. But if someone asks me, that's kind of the reasoning that I go through, and to decide whether the horse needs shoes, whether it needs to be barefoot, or whether it just needs front shoes. That's kind of my train of thought. So if you're in muddy conditions, I recommend you get a wire brush. When I was living down in Arizona, I didn't carry a wire brush with me. But now that I'm living up here in Washington, I definitely have to have a wire brush. So I just start off by cleaning up my frog, kind of finding where the foot is. You want to clean all these traps out. Now that I got that, I'll come out here and clean up my bars. You want to try to get all the dirt out of here, because you work hard to get your knives sharp, and you'll run it through a bunch of dirt. the fun out of things real quick. It happens, but I try to avoid it the best I can. So your bars need trim just like the hoof wall. That's what they're an extension of the same kind of material as your hoof wall. So you got to trim those down. Some people tend to leave a little more than I do. I like to trim them back. I don't know that I've seen any problems from trimming them the way I do, but I have seen problems from them getting too long, folding over, and putting pressure on the sensitive tissues of the sole of the frog, or they'll cause a bruise right there. So I tend to be a little more maybe aggressive to some. I think it's adequate. Just kind of depends on what you're used to, but see there again, I'm trimming my bars down. Just a nice slope is what you want down to where they end. If you have one that the bars tend to run forward, you want to make sure and get the tip of that bar cut off of there, because I've seen some bars that run all the way up here and they'll actually cross up here. Anyway, and every time that horse steps, it's like he's got a rock up in here that just keeps pushing pressure on it, because those bars are hard, horny tissue. Anyway, once I'm done with that, I'll come in. File it down, get it level. What I'm doing here is taking all the flares off the foot. And how you do that, if you look at the inside of your white line there, and you want an even amount of hoof wall from the inside of your white line, which is right there at the tip of my rasp, out to your hoof wall. And the reason you don't want to go from the outside of your white line is just because your white line will get stretched, and then you're just shoeing to a flare, to something you really don't want to be shoeing to. Okay, so it took me a little bit to figure out which shoe I was going to put on this horse, because she's just got one of them feet that are right between two sizes. So I had to go to a different style shoe, which is a kind of a pre-made front shoe, to figure out to get a size that's going to fit. So this is a St. Croix Eventer is what it ended up being. But does she need a rimmed shoe on the front? Probably not. It's not gonna kill her. I mean, it's not gonna hurt to have that traction, but it's not what I was going for. But it'll work just fine. Anyway, so like I said, this is an Eventer Ott front St. Croix. And it tends, so on just a plain stamp St. Croix, she tended to be a little bit just like right between the two. One was too big, and an Ott was too small. So this is gonna work out just perfect. So I went to this eventer, and it tends to be a between size. It's one recommendation I'd recommend doing is just trying to get a couple different brands or something like that, because you'll find that a certain size in one shoe, one brand, it's just a hair different, and sometimes it works out to your advantage. I probably could have put a 1 on her. The aught was just a hair small. So like I said, I probably could have put a 1 on her, but then you got to sleep at night and think that, hope that this horse doesn't pull your shoe off. So with this size shoe, I'll be able to sleep at night. So you see this branch over here, this quarter, the heel quarter up here, the toe quarter, just tends to be just straight, which makes it a pain to try to shape a shoe to it, but you can make it happen. So it kind of doesn't make a real pleasing shoe to the eye, but it's about fit up nice for her. You want to make sure you're covering your heels back here. Perfect. So once I get my shape, I come over here. You want to take off all those little doohickeys that pop up. Take the round side of your hammer. One side's flat, one side's round. You just kind of get it in there and knock all those down, because if you don't, those could push up into the sole there, and then the owner's calling you back to saying that the horse is lame and they don't know what happened. Anyway, and that's all it is, just little precaution to take there. You gotta take off right there where you beat on it on the heel. Basically anywhere where you beat on it, you gotta come back and flatten that out. You can see right there I hit it with a hammer, so I'll just take my hammer around here, just flatten all those hickeys out around the front here. I'll flatten all those out. See, and then I come here, I know my top of my stall jack is level, and so I'll come here and level my shoe. There you go, see it won't rock back and forth. Level my shoe to this, then I'll go, or you could also look at it, if you can see that, looks like we got a little high over here. Anyway, there's lots of ways to level most of the time it doesn't take this long, but every now and then. So right now that I know my shoe's as level as I can get it, I come over here to the foot. Then I push it around on my foot and see if my foot is level like I want it. And this one seems to be, and if it's rocking, you can say if it's rocking like this, and you got two high spots right here and right here, take your rasp and run it across it. But I seem to have gotten that pretty level. I'll go ahead and nail this one up. So I always tend to start with this nail hole over here. That's this hand that's holding my nail. Hold my shoe on while I'm, ouch. Gotta make sure you hit the nail and not your knee. Amateur mistake there. And then I make sure I got an even amount of steel on each side of my heel there. You can set the foot down, take a look at it. Looks good. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. You don't have to bend your nails over. I used to ring them off, and I'll go into that in more videos later on, about why I do one over the other. You want to always make sure you pick up your little nail tips. It's not, I went out with one farrier and he told me, I kind of mentioned, why don't you pick those up? He said, well, I'm not a groundskeeper, I'm a farrier. And there is some truth to that. Yeah, I mean, we're not there to pick up the guy's or gal's place, but I think that's kind of common courtesy to pick up after yourself. You know, I don't think you need to pick up every shaving that you lay down off, or piece of hoof that you trim off or whatever, but the easy way to make friends is to pick up after yourself. After you rasp it, take your clinchers. Quit it. Clinch them down. And when you're rasping, after you clinched, you're just kind of taking the burrs off your nails there. You don't need to go rasping your clinches that you just made. Rasp them completely off. So that's our finished product that we're going for. Got a little hangover here in the back, which is good to let the back of that foot expand. The nails don't always line up like they should, but they look like they did on that one, which is what you should be shooting for. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.